This is Coleman Williams IV, and we're creating madness with madness to creation.
Welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast for self-care and music merch. This is Maddie. How are you? Hopefully you enjoyed the previous interview featuring Don Brown, guitarist of the legendary band Duran Duran. We have on this episode Coleman Williams, who fronts the band 4 and the Strange Band. It's not like the number 4, it's a Roman numeral 4 and the Strange Band. And on April 20th, they released their debut single entitled Son of Sin, which 4, aka Coleman Williams, describes as the song is kind of making me joking at the way my family has been used over the years, and the commercial exploitation that downtown Nashville has turned into, whereas once for the music, but now that is the last thing that matters. We get into such a wonderful conversation about mental health, his legendary family, and also Nashville and how he would revitalize Nashville. And it was just a really cool episode, and I really don't want to highlight who he's a legendary family of. You can listen to the podcast and find out for yourself. Coleman Williams is a man that wants to make it his own way, and I want to respect him for that. And it was just a lovely conversation. I cannot wait to follow up with this guy again. He is such an insightful, lovely human being, and just has so many stories to tell. But we talked a lot more about his music, a lot less about his family and all that. So, because we wanted to make it about him. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy this episode, and please follow this podcast on Spotify, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, YouTube, GeoCenter, Google Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Addict. And on that note, here's our conversation with Coleman Williams IV. Take it away, Coleman. Computer. Welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast, where self-care and music merge. This is Maddie. How are you? Here I have is Coleman Williams IV. Sorry about my stutter there a little bit. Coleman, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Awesome, and thank you so much for joining Madness to Creation podcast. So you have a big day tomorrow. Tell us about your big day tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Tomorrow, my single is going to come out. This is the first setup for my full record that will be coming out at the end of the summer. But this is my first big music release. This is a song that I've worked on with my band, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And it's been leaked through satellite radio recently, but tomorrow will be my first day streaming it. So anyone who can purchase it, anybody can listen to it. We're going to be on all streaming platforms.
Okay, when you say leaked to satellite radio, was that intentionally leaked or?
It was intentionally leaked. Mojo Nixon, I had an agreement where Outlaw Radio has been playing my song for about 2 weeks.
Oh, awesome. Do you consider
I did an interview with Mojo that actually aired last weekend from Friday throughout the whole weekend. It'll air again actually tomorrow during my release. They released it early. But
awesome, man. So do you consider yourself an outlaw?
You know, that's a complicated question, man. I don't think I consider myself an outlaw, but I'm definitely someone that's always kind of done things my own way.
Definitely. So, yeah, and I was going to say, like, you come from a famous lineage and stuff like that, and obviously you want to carve your own niche in the music world. And tell us about the steps that you have taken in order to carve out your own niche. And I imagine with somebody with a famous lineage like yourself, which is the Hank Williams family, obviously. Yeah. And does that give you kind of a chip on your shoulder in terms of like making music or carving your own path?
Well, that's also kind of why I am at the age that I am now and that I'm recording. I mean, I could have tried to do this when I was a young kid. You know, I'm almost 30 years old, but a big part of it was I wanted to pave my own path. You know, I went to college. I traveled for about 3 years. I've lived in other countries. Yeah, I mean, I've lived in other countries. I've been to all 50 states. I wanted to learn from bands and people I cared about. You know, I wanted to see things. You know, I wanted to go places, and I didn't really want to just assume because I was born somewhere. You know, anyone can be born into a family, but to have a legacy that you've earned is a different thing. And, you know, that's really kind of my stance on it. I've been involved in music most of my life, but intentionally I've kind of kept myself in the backdrop because I've worked in other projects without me being the person in the front, me really writing the material. And a big part of that, like I said, is just I wanted to do it on a time where every person in my band, they're not people I've bought. They're not people that have been presented to me. They're all my friends. They're people that I know, people that I've grown up with, people that have seen my journey to come where I am. You know, so That's what you want, man. I mean,
Definitely.
there are cool bands like Metallica that they met all through a magazine and stuff, but there are also people that they know each other, and sometimes in this business that can be a lot healthier, in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not a musician. I can play hot cross buns on the piano, but that's about it.
Hey, that's something, bro. That makes you a musician. There you go. Man.
Yeah. So
you jazz it up a little.
Yeah, definitely. So does like let's say you're making the music and stuff, and does it make your friendship stronger with the other band members, or are there times where it's like a strain on the friendship?
No, man. I'm really fortunate in that department. A lot of the people that I work with, I mean, I can honestly say that's Jason Dietz, who is my producer and my bass player. I've known that guy for over 10 years, and I've actually never had an argument with him, which is insane. And we've seen all levels of each other. I've spent a lot of time with that guy, but we just know the times to let the other person chill out, if that makes sense. It's like conducive. It's kind of like having a brother, man. I mean, and like my lead guitar is similar. I've never butted heads with him, and they're open to dialogue if there needs to be, instead of having resentment built up. Just talk about it, so I mean, I've lucked out, man. My bandmates are really wonderful people, and I've been blessed to that. Really doesn't happen. I can't speak for the future, but I'm happy where I am right now with that, which is pretty great.
Yeah, that is so cool. So you're releasing tomorrow, Son of Sin. Yes, and this is just kind of a dumb question. Where did the song title come from? Does it come from a central past, or does it come from your lineage? Where does it come from?
So Son of Sin it's kind of a joke, because my dad's big record was Straight to Hell. So Straight to Hell is my dad's big record, and I'm my dad's kid. I'm my dad's only child, Son of Sin. That was just kind of a thing like that. And it's also, I wrote a song that kind of talks about the music industry, and it talks about the commercialism of the town I grew up in. So it's kind of a blend of both, man. If you want to be honest, there are parts of it that are more serious from the song that I wrote, my message, but then also it's kind of, my dad's big thing was Straight to Hell. And if he went straight to hell, then I would be a son of sin. So,
that, that's really clever. So, who would you say, you cite, on the press release, you would cite John Prine, the Jesus Lizard, which is kind of a crazy band name.
I love that band. If you've never treated yourself, just sit down and listen to some of their music, man.
I didn't think that was I thought it was like a Jim Morrison song title.
Oh no, brother. That's a band. And actually Dwayne Dennison, the guitar player of that band, was my dad's guitar player for 2 years in his early career.
Wow. That's pretty crazy to think about.
And Dwayne Dennison is one of the coolest dudes out there as music goes. That's a really awesome, cool group of dudes that make kick-ass music, and that's just still sell out shows, man. They did a show a couple of years back, and they were around from 15-20 years ago, and they still sell out shows, man, killing it.
So are they one of those that kind of has a big cult following, you would say?
Yes, but also I think a lot of the people that are big musicians, they cite creative ties from a band like the Jesus Lizard. They have really awesome live shows. That's my favorite thing about that band. They have killer music, man. It's a heavier band, but their shows are just great. And it's not just the performance, it's literally just the energy that these people let off, when they make music together. That's just, it's awesome, man. That it has an old vibe to it. I'm a 90s kid, so
oh my gosh, I love the 90s.
Yeah, man. And also I have a lot of my sites from late 80s and 90s, Fugazi, Ian MacKaye, things like that. And Jesus Lizard is a heavier version of that, and that's it's a kick-ass group of dudes, man, that just fill up places and get angry for 45 minutes. but yeah, man, they do a song called Monkey Trick that has this amazing bass lick in it, and the bass lick in it is just one of my all-time favorite bass solos ever. And it's just a cool in-your-face starts the song, and it's got a really ghostly, angry guitar riff in it. It's just great song, man. One of my favorite songs ever, Monkey Trick by the Jesus Lizard.
Okay,
yes, big influence.
Well, you know what, you're giving me a song to react to on Instagram TV, so I'm definitely going to react to that song. And and all that. So Monkey Trick by the Jesus Lizard, right?
Monkey Trick by the Jesus Lizard, man. And like that's a really good song. Like, treat yourself. If you want to out branch, I don't know what you listen to, man, but that's a weird one. But they're great, man. They're awesome. They're right in your face, and I'm all about that. I love country music too, though. Like I said, John Prine, man, Mexican Home. Like,
he died recently, didn't he?
Huh?
Did John Prine die recently?
He died last year. Yes, he did. He died right when the COVID pandemic started.
Was it COVID that got him, or
it wasn't COVID? I don't think, but he did pass away right when that started, and that was, in my opinion, a massive blow for Nashville. Like John Prine, he was a locals hero, man, and I personally think that was one of the greats, like, ever. Like, and to this day, it breaks my heart that he's not here anymore. He wrote great music, man, like Mexican Home, Legal Smile, like, the list goes on. Like, he was his songwriting. I'm a songwriter. Like, I make music, I have a band, but I'm a songwriter, and that's always what I am first and foremost. I've been writing songs since I was a little kid, like, and that is a man that told 1,000 stories, and he never really cared who was listening, but if it was 5 people or 1,000 people, they got the same package. And, as John Prine goes, the man was a legend. And, the song Mexican Home, I love that song. And then 20 years after he wrote that song in the 90s, he released a famous live record, and he did a completely different version of it that became an even better version that I loved even more. Like, like he did the original version with like electric guitars, and it's like a whole band. And then he did an acoustic solo version, literally on a live record 20 years later, and completely did different, like changed it, like that song. Mexican Home always speaks to me, but like I said, so does A Legal Smile. That is just one of those classic songs. You can play that song in a bar, karaoke song, some dude might even kick your ass, but you can pull that song up and maybe he might stop. That's just it's one of those old songs, man, like John Prine, and like I said, Hank Williams did a lot for Nashville. So did a lot of the country heroes, but John Prine did something that a lot of musicians have never got the gift to do. He was able to work with the youth these days. He started a record label that gave a lot to the town. They didn't just make money off of it, and
I didn't know all this about him.
Oh, dude, John Prine was great. If you know who Kurt Vile is, he did a tour and worked with Kurt Vile in the past 2 years before he passed away. Like, and that's a bridge of music right there, man. Like, that's a big thing for our genre and the music I'm making. I make country music, but I have 100-watt amps in songs. We have progressive music in songs, but my record is a country record on top of other things. I don't even like to define it in a genre, because like that he was eclectic. Kurt Vile is a rocker. Like, that's a new age rocking guitar guy. And like, he did tours and he did a song with Kurt Vile. It came out after John Prine died, bless his heart, but they had recorded it together, so, very eclectic, really awesome guy, someone to definitely look into if like about Nashville songwriters and people that have been in the town since the 70s. John Prine is one of those dudes. And the guy's not even from there. He just came there and fell in love with it. So,
So ultimately, what do you want your goal to be? Like, whether it's at the end of just to get through the week, whether it's to get through the rest of the single cycle, because I know nowadays, like, people don't just release albums, people release singles now because of Spotify and digital streaming. What are your goals that you have in mind that you can talk about, of course?
So I have a full album that's coming out at the end of the summer. So that is 100% something that's happening. So we have the single coming out, but I will have a full record with Summerson that will be available probably in August, September at the latest, and if we're lucky, maybe sooner, but I will have a full record done this year. So that's something that's really exciting. We're already halfway through pretty much. We're just kind of giving everybody exactly what they want, and we're trying to make sure we're happy with it. So
yeah, I was gonna say, if you ever come to Iowa or Minnesota, I would love to buy a ticket and come to a show.
For sure, man. I plan to tour as well. I will be doing a tour in the fall. Okay. There are more tours that are lined up, but I will be touring in the fall. So that's definitely happening. I will be playing other local events as well. So because of that, like, I will be playing certain festivals and things like that. That has been already proved. And that's what I can say for now. I will be playing festivals and I will be playing tours this year, probably after the summer. Same when the record comes out.
Yeah, and you know what? I miss live music so much. How much do you miss it?
And due to COVID too, that's the thing. Things have gotten better. I've been to a couple live shows in the past few weeks. The local Honeys, I got to see Vincent Roy Emerson, Ritty Arman, great country bands. They're all
Nice.
on La Honda Records, which of course is Coulter Wall, that all those group. And that was awesome. Mike Fanata from Western as Fuck got me tickets to that. So I got to go to that. And it was very different to sit at a table at a venue. And, you have to have your mask on and, it's different, but at least it was great to go to a live venue. I've got to do it twice since COVID, and it was great.
Yeah. So what you said, there was a lot of like social distance and all that stuff.
Yeah. So the way that the Basement East, which is a venue in Nashville, did it was they had little tables that 3 to 4 people could sit at, and everyone is 6 feet apart. And they had bartenders that were coming to you, so you didn't need to get up and walk around. And you could take it off and you sit down, but you got to have it on if you get up at all. And they were really being safe. They did a really, really good job. Like, I thought it was great. And then I went to a show at Marathon Music Work last week. A musical friend and ally, Nick Shoulders, did a performance, and we went and saw him play last week in Nashville, and that was great too. He did a really good job, and it was super, super safe. So COVID is still there, but it's getting way better. Like, and there's a lot more people that are finally getting to start doing this, and that's why, like I said, I'm just giving it a little bit longer. And I will do local shows for sure, kind of pop-ups throughout all summer. I'm going to do that because Nashville is my area. But, there will be tours and things that will be done all throughout the fall. So that is something we are doing right now, as long as things keep getting better in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just hope we're just continue ahead in the right trajectory. And, and what is kind of from a mental health standpoint, we cover mental health a little bit on the podcast as well. What is like the number one thing you learned about yourself ever since the COVID-19 pandemic?
I would say I learned that it's good to have hobbies. I've always been a writer, like I said, so I've always kind of had stuff to keep me preoccupied. I would also say I was pretty lucky. I lived in a house. I didn't live in an apartment. I still do. I own a house. So, because of that, like, I have space. I have a yard that's almost an acre. I was able to kind of live. So I could kind of live in my own little world. And, that was, that's what I wanted to do. I've worked really hard for this. And, I've worked a job my business didn't stop because of COVID. So I work ironically, soon I will not, but for about 9 years now, I've ran and helped manage liquor stores in Murfreesboro and Nashville. And I work for one of the largest families that does that in Tennessee. And I've done that for a long time, and that didn't stop because of COVID. So, I was still working throughout the entire pandemic, so it was never stopped here. So,
yeah. And I was going to say, I'm a special needs teacher by day. And I think it's kind of one of those things. I kind of count my blessings and count the lucky stars, so to speak, that I was able to still have a job because so many people lost.
Yeah, man, I didn't ever lose my job. And, like I said, I'm a partner in a family that runs those. So I was running a business this whole time. So luckily, financially, I was always working. I still wasn't able to sit at home. But, instead of going out, that is part of what happened with the record as well. About a year before COVID happened, I'd started to really humor the idea of not just being a rhythm player or someone in a project, doing my own project. My producer has been my best friend since I was like 20 years old. So and because of that, he has a studio through his house. I've been recording and working on stuff that entire time, just projects, things that were never released, things that were never done, things that, just to get comfortable in the box, and I had toured and played with a metal band, but this was something different, and it was fun, man. It was something I really enjoyed, and it was great. I definitely, like I said, I learned a lot through that. Now to actually do something professionally and agree, like, I'm going to do like my own work and I'm really going to put it out there, and I'm not uncomfortable because I've already done that for a pretty long time. So, COVID taught me, it's good to have hobbies. Thank goodness I have those. I'm a gardener. I always have been.
That's awesome.
I have a cat and 2 dogs, which are a full-time job sometimes, and I like mowing the yard, and like writing music. So, I used to mess with video games when I was younger, but I think, like, personally, they take up too much time. And now, because I'm focusing, since I decided I wanted to focus more on music, I just put those down in the past few years. That was something that used to be fun, but it's not something I'm into anymore. And I know guys that, they tour and play and still tear that stuff up, man. But I just like, man, I don't have enough time in the day. I like to sleep, and wake up, I'll work on stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, like, sometimes the only video games I'll play is like the occasional arcade, like the old stand-up arcades, you know.
Oh, dude, I'll tear up a Pac-Man game. You know, I'm all about that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, NBA Jam is more my bag, but I like Pac-Man nonetheless. So just kind of a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
So like kind of one thing I was kind of curious about, like, do you see like country music, the pendulum in country music swinging back to more traditional country, or do you think it's going to go more the pop country route?
I don't think it's going to go to either. I think it's going to be something different. I personally believe a musical renaissance is coming. Things will change.
Really?
There are younger people in the musical world right now that give me a lot of faith in that. Like I said, there's a lot of guys in Arkansas that make really great music, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas. There are people my age that want to do the same thing I'm doing. Like I said, I made a single that is not just a country song. And it's not because I was just trying to do that. It's because I opened myself to that. I have never agreed with the way that, for some reason, it is wrong for country musicians to branch out. It should never be something that people should question or see as a bad thing. If you want to be eclectic, that just means you're a real artist, you know.
Absolutely.
And I personally think that a lot of country musicians are crippled by labels. Not all labels are bad, but there are ones that do not allow people to be eclectic in any way or form, you know, and that it's unfortunate. It's something that needs to change. And there's a lot of independent guys out there that are doing that, you know, and I love that. I think there's a lot to learn from those people, and a lot of it's in the youth, man. And I personally think, you know, traditional country is coming back more. There are more people that sound like Slim Whitman or sing like Bob Willis, but there are also kids, I think, that are really trying to be like, what can I do that's the next thing, you know? And I do see more kids into country than I did when I was younger, though, which is great. You know, I mean, in the 90s, man, you know, I loved country music. I remember, I had people get mad at me for wearing Garth Brooks t-shirts, man, you know, but that's who I am, you know, I mean, bread and butter. But then a lot of my friends, some of the best country musicians I think I've ever seen, didn't even listen to country till they were in their late teen years. You know, I mean, because they're eclectic. But some of the songs that are written by country artists, man, back in the day, they are more metal and more dark than some of the songs that kids that write scary, screaming, loud, nuts, like, it's way darker in some of the old country songs. Listen to old George Jones songs, Johnny Paycheck songs, like David Allan Coe songs. There's some darkness in those, man. There's some darkness in that music, you know, I mean, and they still pump out hits. I mean, look at what Chris Stapleton did. He covered a David Allan Coe song, and half the people don't even realize he didn't write that song. You know, like, I mean,
that's so true.
Yeah, there are great dark songs, you know. And if you look at what that song's about, it's about a guy who's an alcoholic. You know, I mean, there's some dark, you know, I think a lot of the kids that loved, like, okay, Lux Interior of the Cramps, his hero was Hank Williams. He loved Hank Williams. And that is a guy that definitely didn't sound like Hank Williams.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
yeah, you got that right.
Like, yeah, I mean, but he had such a deep, loving respect for the classics, and it helped define his career, I think, as an artist, and why he was able to write and be like that is being able to listen to anything and work with it, you know. As an artist, I never want to think I stopped myself, you know. So I think the pendulum, man, is just swinging multiple directions, man. You know, I would hope to think it kind of swings away from pop, but there are things in pop that aren't bad either. You know, you can't just hate something just because it's pop. Music is always going to be there. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And just one more question I have for you. Sure. I'm kind of curious. What has Joe Buck taught you?
So Joe Buck taught me style. Like, I can answer that in one word, man. Playing guitar is one thing. That's a technical thing. Joe Buck is a performer. Joe Buck has worked with people like, you know, Viva La Vox, the legendary Shack Shakers, my father. You know, he's talk about being eclectic, you know, but, you know, he has a style that he plays. I remember the first time I saw Joe Buck play in 2013 at Muddy Roots. And, you know, the attitude and the energy that he brings to the table is so uniquely him as an artist. And he does not give a damn who thinks anything different, you know, and he's always proved that, man. That guy is a player. He plays guitar like a blues musician. He'll get up there and stomp around and play, you know. I mean, he has a style. And, you know, I've known Joe for a pretty good amount of time, and he's always offered help. He's always offered guidance. He's always someone that I could always talk to, besides my father, to have another person in my life like that. And, you know, he's a great guy, and he's seen a lot of stuff. He's done the music thing for a long time. And I wanted to learn style, and that was the thing that he definitely helped with. And I think if anybody had anything to say about Joe Buck, it's that the man has style. That's fact.
And question for you, 20 years from now, what are people going to say about you?
I don't know, man. Hopefully words of any kind, good or bad, but man, maybe that I helped my town. If there's one thing I could ever do as music goes, I have a lot to say about Nashville. There's a lot of things I don't agree with the town. I grew up in a neighborhood where every single person had been there for 2 to 3 generations. They all knew each other, and now they're all gone. And they're not gone because they just wanted to leave. It's because they got pushed out. And that's wrong. And I don't agree with that. But I love my city. I love Nashville. I love where I come from. I love the legacy there, but there are things here that need to be fixed. And if I can help those things grow towards that, I can know I've done something right. There are things that need to be remedied still. Things my father worked towards, like Hank Williams is not a member of the Grand Ole Opry Hall of Fame. That's pretty messed up, yet they profiteer off of his image. Same thing, like I said.
He's not?
No, he's not. He's a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, but not the Grand Ole Opry. That's why my father worked for Reinstate Hank for years through his musical career.
I am blown away by that, because
and it never got changed, man. My dad spent years trying to change that. But regardless of all that, man, there are things in the town, like I said, that need to be fixed. I hope that I can work towards those as well, to help people understand what needs to happen in some departments in the world, and like I said, people moving here is not the problem. I don't care about that. I think regardless of where you live in this country, more people will come there. The problem is land development. This, not even a month ago, the Exit Inn almost got sold and turned into condos. The End, which is across the street, 2 major venues in Tennessee, the End doesn't exist anymore. The End got sold last year.
Seriously?
The End is gone, and it won't, but the thing is, like, the Exit Inn literally just sold, and the only reason now it didn't get sold and torn down is because hundreds of thousands of people came out about it, and I 100% can guarantee you the landowners got embarrassed, and now they said they're going to keep it. But they announced they were going to turn it into a condo less than 3 weeks ago, and then it just changed. Like, after weeks.
Wow.
They got a GoFundMe that raised about $250,000 just to fight against it. So so there are people, that gives me hope right there. Nashville has things that are great qualities. The problem is land development. When I was a kid, that city, 70% of that city was at least almost 100 years old, and almost all of it now is destroyed, and maybe 20% of it is kept there. Well, because you can't put 1,000 people on a piece of land if there's a historical place there, so there are things that should change, but I would like to think with my work and my music as an artist, just like any artist, I would like to give back to my town. Like I said, I do not even live in Nashville. I live in Murfreesboro, and I live here intentionally. Like preferably, I don't have to spend 3 times my income to live in a house, which is that's not right.
Right.
For where we live and where we're centralized in the country, that should not be a thing here. And it wasn't.
That blows my mind.
It wasn't until about 10 years ago. You can spend less money in some of the most expensive areas in America now, comparative to living in Nashville. You can still live there. Don't get me wrong. You can find a place to live, but it's going to be really small if you don't have a decent amount of money.
Wow.
But that happens to towns. Things like this happens. There are other cities this has happened to. It's not the first, but there are things that people are learning from. Like I said, the Exit Inn did not get shut down. Now, from thousands and thousands and thousands of people spoke up to protect that place because they were tired of seeing more and more places be turned into land development. So, I would like to think that the city gets better. We can work on the city. We can help things. We can make things better. Give back to the kids, help people all over the country that want to make music. If you want to make music, you should. I don't care who you are, what you do. If you feel like that's what you're supposed to do, you should do it. It doesn't matter what family you come from. It doesn't matter where you're born. If you want to do that, then you should just try. There's nothing wrong with that. So
definitely. Absolutely. And what can a podcast or a website or anything like that do to help this situation? Like, is there a certain resource that we can go to or anything like that? Or
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Oh, in terms of to help raise awareness about this, is there a certain GoFundMe or a certain resource that we can go to?
Oh, for the Exit In, there was a huge link that was just in the Rolling Stone magazine about that. That was huge.
Okay.
That was big. That was literally in the Rolling Stone magazine. And that was not even a week or two ago. So that's awesome. You can look that up through Google, because that was a huge thing that just happened. I mean, I was really proud of the town. I was doing some work with Mike Fanata. Like I said, I have a video for a company called Western AF that comes out tomorrow as well. I'm going to be doing a live performance of my version of The Son of Sin. I'm doing an acoustic version of it that comes out tomorrow, the same day as my actual release.
Good for you.
That's going to be really awesome. That's being released the same day. And when he was in town, we saw when the money started getting raised for it, and that was 2-3 weeks ago. So that became a huge deal, and I'm really proud of the town for stopping that from happening. So there are good things here. I would like to think that I could give back to the city. That's the goal, man. I mean, as anybody I hope would want to do where they come from.
That is so cool. And where can people check out your performance, or like where people can find you and all that?
So I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook. You can look up 4IV and the Strange Band on my Facebook. On my Instagram, it's IV son of III, so 4 son of 3. We also have a Bandcamp. And like I said, we'll be streaming on all formats as of tomorrow: Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Napster, all that stuff. So, you can look up 4IV and the Strange Band tomorrow, and you'll be able to find us through there. Also, like I said, we will have a full album out in the next few months. So that's our goal. That's what we're going for. We're going to do a lot of stuff in the summer, and we're hoping to, like I said, as of right now, I will be touring in the fall, as long as things stay at the pace that they are.
That is so cool. And I would love to follow up with you when this album's released. And
sure, Maddie, no problem.
Yeah. And Coleman, this has been so much fun to talk to you for Madness Creation Podcast. And please let us know if there's anything we can do